I'm an artist. My name's Leonard Koziansky, and welcome to my studio. This is where I work. This is where I paint every day. And I'd like to talk to you today about the worst painting in the world. I mean, it is truly awful. It's Dance by Henri Matisse, painted in 1909. And this painting is truly a piece of junk, if there ever was one. It was probably painted in an afternoon. It's crude, it's badly painted, poorly crafted, slapped together, and yet we are told that it's a masterpiece, that we are supposed to love this painting. It is truly a work of genius. Some genius this is. Oh my God, it's awful, but it's hanging in the Museum of Modern Art. The Museum of Modern Art. My God, the Museum of Modern Art. Everything in the Museum of Modern Art is great, is brilliant, right? Wrong. Just because the trustees of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City say that something's good doesn't mean that it is. Believe me, absolutely not. And if you don't believe me, go in there sometime. Oh, you have to pay a small fortune to get in these days, but go in there and you will see some god-awful things, things that you're absolutely going to hate. And you'll want a refund on your admission. And there's the Matisse in the Museum of Modern Art. It was donated by a Rockefeller. A Rockefeller, one of the great, richest people in the world. And those rich people, they're all so smart. And we should listen to them, right? I mean, they know it's good for us, right? No, they believed in eugenics. They believed in sterilizing people. We don't want to listen to them. Oh, but those wealthy people, they're all so smart. That's why they have so much money, right? I mean, people like George, don't forget him. Or Bill Gates, no, we don't want to listen to him. No. Or how about Leonardo DiCaprio? No, not him either. No. But those rich people, they're the smart ones, the billionaires. They know. We should listen to them, right? Wrong. Have a mind of your own. Respect your own point of view. Respect your own eyes and your own mind. And don't let some sophisticados at the Museum of Modern Art tell you what's good and what isn't. Oh, and there they are. There it is at Harvard. All the smart people, they know what's good, right? And we should listen to them, right? No. Look at this painting. Look at it for yourself. It's stupid. It's crude. It's awful. It's an insult. This artist is showing no respect for his audience. He's not showing any craftsmanship. He's not trying to draw us in with the brilliance of his brushwork or the beauty of his colors. It's just crude junk shoved in our throats, and we're told that it's supposed to be great art, great modern art, and if we don't like it, then there's something wrong with us, right? Wrong. Let's take a close look at this painting, okay? Let's take a good look at this painting, yes. Let's look at some of the hands and feet. Let's see how they were drawn and painted, huh? Let's take a closer look at those feet. Oh my God, they're awful. They were just slapped down in seconds. There's no respect. There's no craftsmanship. He spent zero time working on this thing. And he, the paint's just smeared all over the place, crudely painted. No proportions, no great drawing skill demonstrated here. We see great skill in drawing. It ennobles us. It makes us feel good about ourselves, because we're seeing what the human is capable of doing. And if this is what humans are capable of doing, then forget it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's not ennobling. It doesn't enrich me. It doesn't make me feel glad to be alive. Or how about those feet? They're chopped off. I mean, and those arms are so crude. And the paint's just kind of like dripping all over the place. Oh my God. Paintings are supposed to make us feel good about ourselves and our lives. They're supposed to make our lives worth living. Boy, not this thing. And look at those hands, those frying pan hands. They were just sort of like blasted down. They're just sort of thrown down, dabbed down, and blasted in, and we're supposed to like it? We're supposed to admire it? No. And if someone looks at it and says, well, my kid could do as well as that. Well, yeah, he could. Look at those hands on the right. Look at that hand on the right. Look like a bunch of cigars. And the one in the middle is like a baseball mitt. Oh, God. And we're supposed to admire this? We're supposed to say this is great art? This is supposed to ennoble us? It's supposed to show us what greatness, what brilliance the human mind and eye and hand are capable of? No. Oh God. Look at these awful figures. Badly painted, badly drawn, crudely proportioned. And look at those breasts. They're like circles. Look, he took a jar, the lid of a jar to draw those circles. Oh my God, just awful. And yet we're supposed to admire it. We're supposed to say, oh, what a great work of art. It's in the Museum of Modern Art, donated by a Rockefeller, a brilliant man. No. Use your own eyes. Have a mind of your own. Trust your own instincts and your own taste. And like what you like. And don't like what you don't like. And when you buy home art for your home, buy what you like and not what you're told to like. And not what some advisor or some consultant tells you should buy. Or buy something just because some rich guy bought something similar. I mean, Matisse was in Paris. He was at the Louvre. He was surrounded by great art. He knew what was good. He knew it was well crafted, like this painting by Botticelli, the Three Graces, and, beautifully drawn, beautifully painted, three women dancing, holding hands. This is very ennobling. This is, Botticelli respects us. And, he's showing us what the human is capable of doing. And we admire it. And it makes us feel good about ourselves. And it makes our lives richer and more fulfilling. Or, even this Bouguereau, it's a huge painting. And, it's the youth of Bacchus. And, it's a gorgeous painting, wonderfully crafted and composed. And, and look at those hands and feet. Huh? Now, those are beautifully painted hands and feet. He respects us. He respects our audience. And we admire him for his craftsmanship. I mean, look at that. Beautifully crafted, beautifully painted. Now, yes, of course. Many of us would look at Bouguereau and say, well, it's just too sentimental. It's too slick. It's almost like softcore pornography. And I would have to agree with you. It's a little over the top. But it's Victorian painting. And Victorian painting and Victorian novels are over the top. So let's look at something that's very realistic, like this Winslow Homer, Snap the Whip. And this was painted a few decades before Matisse painted Dance. And it's wonderfully painted, very respectful, very realistic, very down home, very American, very democratic. It says great things about this nation of ours. Just this painting alone says great things about America. And if we admire it, if we love it, then that's a great thing. It's an ennobling thing. It makes our lives richer and more fulfilling. And if we don't like precise realism, if we want, more impressionist brushwork, well, then there's this painting by Renoir of the Moulin de la Galette, 1870s. A wonderful painting of dance, people dancing outside in a park in the summer, the sun shining down. We get a great sense of the beauty of life, the beauty of the world around us. It makes our own lives richer looking at this painting and knowing what a human being is capable of, that a human being is capable of creating this kind of beauty. Or how about this Dancer by Degas? Wonderful. This is a pastel drawing. And that dancer is beautifully painted. Wonderful hands and feet and lighting, a sense of motion, dynamism. And it also is fairly loose in the upper left corner. Okay? It's not like everything has to be precise for us to like it. We can like things that are not quite so precise, that are loose and broadly drawn in, as we can see in this picture. But still we sense that this artist respects us, and we respect him and admire him for his genius in presenting this ballet dancer. And if we want something more idealized, more abstract, well, here's this Seurat painting of can-can dancers. This was done in 1889, 1890. It's very idealized, very abstract, very modern. And it took him forever to paint this. He didn't do this in an afternoon like Matisse did. This took him 2 years. He painted it spot by spot. This is pointillism. One dot of paint placed next to the other, over and over and over again. It took him forever to paint this. To create those complex colors, he had to put 3 and 4 or 5 different colors next to each other to create those complex shades that we see here. And it's something we admire. It enriches us. And we're fascinated by this. And if we want something modern, well, here's the Severini from 1915. A dancer, very modern, very cubist. And yet we sense that the artist respects us. It's well crafted. He didn't do this in an afternoon. And he thought a lot about this and carefully painted it. And painted it beautifully. And it's an ennobling picture. And if you like modern art, then it is something that you might admire, even though it isn't at all realistic. And even Picasso, the awful, dreadful Picasso, did better than Matisse. I mean, look at that. There's the Matisse, and there's the Picasso. The Picasso is so much better, even though it's an awful painting itself. 3 women holding hands, dancing. Oh, it's yucky, but it's better than the Matisse. Oh my God, this Matisse is just the worst painting in the world. And yet it's shoved down our throats over and over and over again. And we're told if we don't like it, then there's something wrong with us. And we're the idiots. No, we're not. We have to have minds of our own, though. And we have to stop listening to these so-called experts who tell us what's good and what isn't. No, we'll decide ourselves for what's good and what isn't. And then, if we accept the Matisse as a masterpiece, well then, we have to go over to the Whitney Museum. The Whitney Museum, the great temple of artistic genius, the Whitney Museum. And there's this de Kooning painting of a woman and a bicycle. And we're supposed to think that this is great? No, it's degrading. It's depressing. It's awful. And if we hate it, good for us. Just because the museum, the Whitney Museum says it's good, doesn't mean it is. Doesn't mean you have to like it. You can hate it. You can see it as depressing and degrading. And then we run back to the Museum of Modern Art, and there's another de Kooning woman. Boy, you talk about depressing. You talk about awful. Boy, you look at something like this, you want to go shoot yourself. It's awful. It's so degrading and depressing. But we're told that it's great art and that we must like it because it's in the Museum of Modern Art, and the trustees of the Museum of Modern Art wouldn't put it there if it wasn't a masterpiece. And how about this Francis Bacon? This sold recently for $84 million. Well, if someone will pay $84 million for it, then it must be good, right? No. Just because some numbskull forks over $84 million for this piece of junk doesn't mean it's any good. I mean, it's obviously influenced by this Matisse. We look at the Matisse dance, and we can see that it had a big influence on this painting by Francis Bacon. But this is a cartoony little mess. It's degrading. It's depressing. It's awful. And if we walk away from it and say, hey, this isn't for me, then maybe we're the smart ones. Maybe we are the intelligent ones. Because if we accept this, and if we accept this Matisse as great works of art, if we swallow the propaganda, then we'll walk into a museum gallery and see these piles of junk, and we'll say, oh, they must be great because they're in a museum. Whereas most people would look in and walk into a gallery, see this and say, well, that's a pile of junk. I'm getting out of here. And they're absolutely right in thinking that way. And so when the depressing thing, the really terrible thing, I'll tell you the terrible thing about all this, is that then after people look at that Matisse and feel, oh, I hate it, but it must be good because it's in the Museum of Modern Art. Or they look at this and they say, oh, it must be great because it's in an art museum. Then what happens is they turn away from art itself. I had someone who watched one of my videos, wrote a comment on one of my videos, and they said, well, I'm not an art guy, but blah, 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 blah. Well, if you walk into a museum and see this, are you going to be an art guy or an art gal? No. You say, well, I guess this art stuff isn't for me. And no wonder after a while, we walk into museums, we see people staring at blank canvases. I mean, if they're convinced that the Matisse is good, if they have no mind of their own, then they can be persuaded to go into a museum and stare at blank canvases. Oh my God, it's awful. But that's the way it is. And the problem is that we begin to distrust ourselves in other things, in other parts of our lives. And so we need to trust ourselves, trust our own view of things. We have minds of our own. Let's respect minds of our own. I mean, I have a very good friend, a running buddy, and he's a very intelligent, very successful lawyer, connected to some of the most powerful people in Washington, very closely connected. And he has a big, beautiful home. He makes tons of money. And you walk into his house, and what does he have hanging on the wall? The dog's playing poker! The dog's playing poker! But even the dogs playing poker are better than this Matisse. Oh my God, of course they are. So trust your own mind, trust your own instincts, and don't let some sophisticato in New York City at the Museum of Modern Art tell you any different. Well, thank you for watching this video. And if you have a chance, please subscribe. When you subscribe, it helps me to make more videos. Thanks again.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and share.